I know. I know. Believe it or not, I know. You think I, as a trans person, moved to Italy without knowing it's transphobic? Be real. It's not that I'm dumb. I'm not stupid, guys, okay? I just told myself when I came out to myself, I said, I'm not gonna let me being trans stop me from following my dreams or following stuff that I want to do. Yeah, it's super transphobic. Who do you think they're transphobic to? There's trans people here, guys. I understand the be safe part. That is, like, you can be concerned for me in that regard, but I can fight. I did martial arts for 8 years. I was fight choreographer for films. I lived on the streets of Southside Chicago. I know. Like, y'all don't realize, like, I can fight, and I've had to. Why? Because America is also transphobic. Someone tried to pull a gun on me in Seattle, okay, for being trans. Dog, every barista is trans here. Or there, I guess now, huh? When I was a kid, I told myself I wanted to win an Oscar. And there's no trans people who have ever won an Oscar before, but guess what? I still want to win an Oscar one day. Do I have to settle for lower dreams, lower quality of life just because I'm trans? That seems pretty transphobic in itself, actually. I even responded to someone like, what do you want me to do, not be trans? And they said not study in Italy. I'm sorry, what? So being trans disqualifies me from studying in a country that doesn't have any laws against a trans person studying there? Sounds like you guys are being pretty transphobic. Even the trans people, it's called internalized transphobia, okay? You're telling me I can't do these things because I'm trans. It's gonna be hard. I'm not discounting that, and I know that. I'm not stupid. And even if I do complain about transphobia, I know someone's gonna be in the comments saying like, oh, you should know this when you moved here. Yeah, I complain about transphobia wherever I'm at because it's dumb. It's stupid. You shouldn't be thinking that way or acting that way. What message does that give to younger trans kids who are struggling with coming out? That, like, they can't do certain things that they wanted to do before they came out if they choose to accept themselves and transition. What does that say to them, guys? What does that say? And I'm making compromises. Like, I'm not dressing as femme because, yeah, I know that that's more dangerous, but, like, what? Like, this is, oh my god, oh. Grow up, jabronis. Grow up. Oh, I appreciate you guys are concerned. I promise I do. Let me dream and grow.
Oh, but the trans masks are stealing our tomboys. No, they're not. I was never a tomboy. As a kid, I wore dresses, and I wore pink, and I liked it. I played with Barbies, Littlest Pet Shop. I had stereotypically feminine hobbies. I only stopped liking dresses after I went through puberty, and that's when I started experiencing dysphoria. I've been post-op for 2.5 years, and I was on testosterone for 3 years, and I am incredibly happy with my appearance and my body, and I still wear dresses. Transmasculine people don't fit into the tiny box that the TERFs are trying to put us into. This piece of TERF rhetoric is always so funny to me, of just like, oh, why can't girls just be masculine? It's like, not all tomboys transition. It's not true. And not all people who transition to like transmasculine even start out as masculine. I am masculine in like my body type, that is my desire, but like my clothing and my aesthetic are all pretty traditionally feminine. Stop putting transmasculine people into boxes.
Do you consider yourself more masculine?
Well, I'm trying to get past it.
My bad. That's a trans woman, and I'm gonna end my life. Trans lives matter, mine does not, and I'm just gonna, if it makes you feel better, I just thought you were a cis Ike. Like, I just thought you were a vagina owner and a Harley owner. That's what I thought. If you can take the question less literally, on a pure vibe level, John, even in the queer community, there is queer on queer crime. This joke should actually give you euphoria because I avoid trans people at all costs for this joke, so as not to have this happen. This very thing that's making me spiral out of control.
It feels great.
Do you feel good? Good. Great. So, is there another mic in the room?
What happened to the men in this country? I'm what happened, baby. I can't believe they think I'm a CNN viewer. What the heck? Unless CNN stands for Casey News Network, I'm not watching that shit. No way. Which booster caused that eyebrow situation? I think it was like my 50th booster when I started growing hair in between my eyebrows. Is that a normal thing? Do other people have hair between their eyebrows? I bet this dude likes dragons. I bet this dude likes ding-dongs. Guilty as charged on both accounts. Can't hear what he's saying because I'm trying to figure out if that's a lady's jacket. It is. The buttons and zipper are on the left, and if it's even in style. Everything's in style if you can pull it off. Comment isn't particularly funny, but I think it's hilarious that they included a picture of my eyes. My unibrow is on display for the entire minute-long video. You do not need to post another picture of it. People know what you're talking about, trust me. Again, screen capping the video that you are commenting under. What is the psychology behind this? I was only trying to figure out if this is a boy or a girl. I'm actually a boy that's a girl and a girl that's a boy. I hope that helps. These comments alone aren't that great, but together I like that they imply that the next civil war is gonna be about whether I should cut my hair or not.
Tuesday morning reminder to trans people to make choices for yourself based on what's going to make you happy in a room alone, not based on what is going to make people stop misgendering you. Because people are not going to stop misgendering you. Believe me, they will find a way. Like, I can be sitting there with my whole ass shirt off and just like, you know, full on pepperonis on display, no titty action. I am still going to get called ma'am. Likewise, I've been wearing a dress and called sir. People are gonna find a way. So you really can't rely on other people to make you happy. Think about this. Make the choices for yourself and your presentation that are gonna make you happy when you get up to pee in the middle of the night and you catch your reflection in the bathroom mirror. Just you in the mirror there, vibin'. Only rely on that bitch in the mirror to tell you what's gonna make you happy. Don't make choices so people won't. Make choices so that you will.
As a transgender man, I live for ironic conversations with strangers who don't know I'm trans. I'll give you an example. I wait tables in a restaurant. I've got these two ladies in my section. I'm taking care of them, and they're like, hey, let's pick your brain about something. They said, we have a friend whose husband has taught their 3 little boys to pee while sitting down. And they're like, isn't that weird? Isn't that emasculating? And I think it's hilarious because not only do I have my original plumbing and I sit down when I pee, but I know plenty of cisgendered men that do so as well. And the worst part about it is that I was watching cisgendered women mindlessly exhibit toxic masculinity on behalf of cisgendered men. It's just a prime example of the pre-programming that this society puts into our heads. And the best part is that I taught these two ladies on my table how considerate it was that the dad taught the little boys to pee sitting down. There was one mother of that family. She's outnumbered by 4 penises. There is no God-given reason why she should have to put down her toilet seat every time she goes to the bathroom in her own home, let alone clean up target practice.
I was born a girl, I'm now a man, and a lot of little tiddlywink ding-dong bitch like to come into my comments and say shit like this. And my question is, why are you watching me that closely? If you want to look at my lips, just ask. I'm fully aware that I was socialized as a female, even though my whole life I felt male. There is a parameter of microbehaviors that you just pick up as the gender that you're raised to be. There is just a matter of constant survival. There was a time in my life that I did try to present as female. It got to be too painful for me. I literally got it beaten out of me that I couldn't be male. So I gave up. And this happens for a lot of trans people. I gave up. I started trying to just align with the gender I was born as because it felt like a lot less pain and suffering. It didn't work, but people like you are pointing out that either A, you're jealous of me, or B, you want to fuck me. And I'd rather you just say that. But on the other hand, it's not uncommon and it's not shameful for me to have some fucking leftover female behaviors. If you're nitpicking that hard, that tells me something about you, because no average person is looking that hard at the things that I do and the way that I do them. So you're either trying to prove something to yourself, I'm upsetting you in a way that you don't understand, and it's making you mad, because I'm not aligned with like this imaginary all-encompassing masculine kingdom rule book that you made in your little ding-dong head on your keyboard. I wish you all the best, dude. So maybe take up piano lessons, go fishing, call your mom, find something else to do. Stop looking at my lips.
So my partner and I recently got engaged, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I did not think I was ever gonna get married. When I came out as trans, I basically gave up on the idea altogether. For a lot of reasons, for sure. Definitely one, because I really struggled with feeling desirable as a trans person. Like, I was already feeling insecure presenting as like a skinny white twink at the time. And that trope is like fawned over in our community. Like, I was giving Timothée Chalamet. Like, I was hungry. So when I started transitioning, I just felt like so displaced. All the cisgender gay guys were looking for men, so that's all they would see in me. And I was too scared to make myself available for cisgender straight men because a lot of the violence that the trans community faces is inflicted by the cis straight men who are attracted to us. And I hadn't met a lot of bisexual or pan people at the time, so I was just like, okay, maybe love just like isn't a part of my journey or something, at least like in a marriage way, you know? And I've historically really lost myself in relationships, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna get okay with being alone. And literally the minute I gave up on that, Ezra came into my life. Ezra is also a trans person, so he actually understood like all of those fears and hesitations that I was feeling. He was just so patient and affirming, and being with him like felt like being alone, you know what I mean? Like I felt like with him I could be the person that I was when no one was around. And that's the first time I experienced that with anyone. And look, I still struggle with feeling desirable, like it's not like I cured that, but now I'm with someone that I feel safe to move through those feelings with. And that's why now marriage makes so much sense. There's no doubt in my mind that we both found each other because we were both radiating in that energy of a person who knows who they are. Like when you are radiating you become a magnet to everything that is meant for you. It's simple math, really. Okay, look, I have so much more to say about moving through love and marriage as a trans person, so feel free to ask me questions if you'd like. I love you.
I absolutely agree with the second half of your comment, but I do not agree with the first part of your comment. Trans rights are human rights, and therefore access to trans healthcare is a human right. I do not believe that this should be age segregated, as I do believe that trans minors should also be able to access gender-affirming care. Just so we're clear, gender-affirming care for minors is social transition, psychological counseling, hormone blockers, and in some cases, hormones. Anything outside of that is malpractice. Now to move to the first part of your comment. You made a mistake. Perhaps it wasn't your intention, but that comes across as very, very accusatory. Furthermore, I do not characterize my initial transition as a mistake. I see my initial transition as something that I had to go through in order to understand who I truly am on a deep level. The amount of introspection that I've had to do over the course of my relatively short life is quite a lot. But for me, the proof is in the pudding. When I look at my old photos from when I was a teenager, when I started my transition, I smiled for the first time in years. I felt a happiness that was so genuine that I did not know what to do with myself. I look at photos of a bright, beaming young man and I see myself. Just because you see this in front of you right now does not mean that experiences that I had weren't authentic and real to me at the time. Just because my journey had a little bit of a detour doesn't mean that the memories are worthless.
My girlfriend and I were having a bad dysphoria day, so I asked her if she wanted me to do her makeup and she said yes. A lot of you have been requesting that I put Max in long hair, and the truth is sometimes that is dysphoria inducing. This might come as a shocker to some people that aren't trans, but when you're at a point in your transition where you don't feel comfortable, sometimes it's more shocking and jarring and dysphoria inducing to actually wear things that would otherwise be gender affirming. And I know that kind of sounds like an oxymoron, but it's a reminder of the things that cause your dysphoria. Right now, she is nearly 3 months into her FFS surgery, which means she's still really swollen. And while neither her or I regret getting FFS, at this point in my FFS, I was feeling the same way. I would look in the mirror and see a more swollen version of myself and wonder if I had made the right decision. But the reality is, when you get a major surgery like that, you're going to look like you had a major surgery. This is actually true for a lot of different procedures, including rhinoplasties. In fact, most people hate their rhinoplasties for the first few months. And yes, that does include rhinoplasties to fix deviated septums. But there is a glimmering light at the end of the tunnel. I remember around 4 months into my FFS is when I started really loving the way that I look. And while I and her both still have bad dysphoria days, that doesn't mean things aren't getting better. It just means things are a process and they take time. And the reason that I say all of this is because I want other trans people who are going through the same thing to know that they're not alone. Because slowly but surely, you will get to a point in your transition where you feel better. Hey, today might have been a bad dysphoria day, but there is always tomorrow.
Look, trans. Look, look, trans.
I find it really funny when people say straight men would never date a trans woman. And the other day I posted a video about that, where I mentioned how A, I don't care, and B, the vast majority of people who hit on me are moderates and conservative straight men. And I got a few responses from people who follow me who obviously know that I'm trans, saying that it's cap. And I find that really funny because we're talking about men. Men. The irony of people saying that men will literally anything with a hole, but then they won't believe that they're interested in trans women is so fascinating to me. Also, yes, my foundation shade does not perfectly match me, but I'm using foundation that's 3 years old, which is definitely expired. So if I'm not afraid of the atrocities that I'm committing against my skin, what makes you think I'm afraid of having the wrong shade? Somehow we can recognize that men are horn dogs, but we can't extend that to their attraction to trans women. And let me just remind you that the same group of people that hated queer people 30 years ago, the ones who couldn't stand the idea of queer people getting married, are the #1 consumer of trans media. It's not lost on me that the same people who just 30 years ago did not want us to get married or have the same rights as them are the ones who engage and consume us behind closed doors. So how is it lost on you that straight men would be attracted to trans women? We all know that there are more out queer people now than there were 30 years ago. And every time that's brought up, people will say it's because it's a trend. When the reality is it's not trendy to be queer now, it's just safer. And we know that's the case because we can look at how left-handedness has been socially perceived over the course of time and how the rates increased and then stabilized once it became more socially acceptable. So it makes sense why people have to put on this performance that they hate queer people when in reality a lot of people are queer or attracted to queerness and have been for a long time. I genuinely believe that if we work towards a society where people's sexuality wasn't questioned when they're attracted to trans people, in a world where being viewed as gay isn't wrong because ultimately that's the issue. People feel like attraction to transness makes them gay. We would see a lot more straight men, including conservative men, who feel like they need to amp up their masculinity and present in a way that is traditional because they're afraid of the truth being found out. They're afraid of people knowing that they are queer or they're attracted to queerness. So yes, straight men are attracted to trans women, even if a lot of the times they don't want to admit it. You might see me and think you're not that attractive. I just don't buy it that behind closed doors conservative men are really trying to chase you. Which is again ironic because I know we've seen all of those videos of beautiful women showing ugly women that their partners cheated on them with. And all of the comments are like, no one's safe, men are dogs, men will literally sleep with ugly women when they have a beautiful woman at home. They have no standards. And hey, you might not personally be attracted to trans people and that's okay. But your dad is an entirely different story.